I'm talking to Mildred Lorch, and she is one of the pillars of St. Thomas, was in pastoral ministry for many years, and is, I would say, the evangelist of love. Is that a good thing to call you? And I just wanted to talk to you and find out a little bit in your own words about how you came to be who you are, and just the way that you have been able to share that with the community at St. Thomas and the community in Lancaster. So, Mildred, could you tell me about your childhood and how you grew to be someone who is so passionate about sharing love and the value and importance of love and God's love?
Oh, my. Yes. I would be very happy to tell you the history of it. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Did you know that?
Yes, actually.
And about 1 week after my 5th birthday, my mother died. My brother was under a year old. My sister was 2 years older than me. And we were without a mother. But we had a German grandmother, our father's mother, who raised us. And I don't know if you know anything about German women in those days, but she was ruthless. Her hand was always up, ready to hit. And she told me many times she would break me if it killed her. And I never knew why, and I still don't know why. We were very obedient children. But time went on, and once when I was in my late teens, mid-teens, I started thinking, I don't know what love is, because my father was never home and didn't pay attention to his children. He had his own jewelry and watch business and then was out evenings because that's what he wanted. And my mother was gone, and my grandmother had that hand ready to hit. I didn't know what love was. And that bothered me. And one night, when I was still very young, I woke up once in the middle of the night, and Jesus was standing at the foot of my bed. And he was pouring love on me. And I fell back to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I thought, now I know what love is. And I did. And it was wonderful, and it has never left me. And I have since then wanted to have other people know about that love and let it pour from me. And so when I was through high school, 16, 17 years old, whatever it was, and graduated from high school, my father and my stepmother, because he remarried, asked me what I wanted to do. And I said I wanted to go to college and learn to be a missionary. And they said, no, we don't do things like that in our family. And I was not allowed to go to college because the money had to be saved for my brother. And remember, in those days, the fact that the boy went was much more important. So I was given a job to do in Manhattan in a publishing company, and I did not become a missionary. But I learned through the years, and I have seen Jesus 4 times in my life so far. I have learned that you don't have to go out of your own place in order to be a missionary. You can show people love and God's love wherever you are. And that's what I've tried to do and will never stop doing.
Yeah. And that's what you detailed in your book.
I'm sorry?
And that's what you wrote in your book.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you were a chaplain? How did you become a chaplain at the hospital?
Yes. I was taking classes at seminary in Lancaster. And so I had enough that they were willing to have me be a chaplain there. And I loved it. It's the work that I absolutely loved. I could be with people as they were getting well, or as they were frightened, or as they had a new baby, and if the baby was dead. I was with them when they were in the process of dying and they wanted to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And I had the opportunity to pour love. And, you know, it's amazing how much people need it. Mm-hmm. Because it's not being poured around. Mm-hmm. And we can all do that, so we can all be missionaries. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what brought you to St. Thomas?
Well, I got married. And my husband's first job, he was living in Upper Manhattan and I was living on Long Island. When we got married, he graduated from college, and his first job was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, in an RCA plant. And we had never heard of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and didn't know anything about it. And so that was where we moved right after we were married. And I started looking around at churches, and while I was engaged, my husband-to-be, and I think this is in the little booklet that I wrote, he would come all the way down from Upper Manhattan an hour and a half on Sundays and go to church with me. And so I didn't question anything. And when we got married, and the first Sunday I started to get dressed to go to church, and I asked him if he was coming. He said no, he didn't believe in that. And he never went with me again. But at any rate, we can do our ministry in churches. And I did find a wonderful church here in Lancaster. You know where it is. Because you are a fantastic organist. I love your music. So that's how I came to be where I am. And I will not stop. I cannot stop pouring love where it's needed.
So do you still counsel people?
When they want, yes.
And so, I mean, that used to be, are there people that you've been counseling for years, or usually it's short term?
It can be anyone. Even someone I start talking to on the street. Yeah. And I think there's something else I would love to tell you right now, but I feel very strongly that we're coming to the end of life in this world. I think we are very close to the second coming of Christ, and so it's very important to keep reaching people.
Yeah, I kind of hope so, actually. It does seem like we have to turn around in some way, and that seems to be kind of the only thing that could change the course, the current course of humanity. I hate to say
we have to be focused, and I don't think too many people think about that. Focused about what is important, what we can do about life, and how we go about it. But each one of us has, I don't want to say a job, but part of us is gifted to reach out to other people in one way or another.
And one last thing I'm going to ask you about your ministry to addicts and people who struggle with alcoholism. And how did you come to do that?
Well, of course, I had been taking courses at seminary, but I was married and working in the hospital, so I saw addicted people in the hospital and could see that my husband was becoming more and more an addict. Mm. And I would tell him that he needed to watch his drinking. And he told me each time that I was crazy or that I was stupid, and he just kept on. Mm-hmm. And one time he went to the doctor, and the doctor discovered that he was apparently drinking a great deal. And the doctor told him if he didn't stop, he would die. But so I have worked with people in hospitals who have had addictions, and I certainly lived with it at home. Mm-hmm. And my husband did divorce me. And kept on with his addiction, and actually he died not too long ago.
And you mentioned Jesus teaching you about love. Mm-hmm. In the midst of these experiences, you know, you have to learn, I guess, to love yourself before you can pour love to others. I mean, did you feel that you really loved yourself from that moment on, or have you had to continue to learn to love yourself as an ongoing thing?
I've had to learn to love myself because, remember, I grew up after my mother died, after my 4th birthday, until I was married, between my grandmother with her German military ways and my stepmother who hated me. She would say, "There's something very odd about you, Mildred. You're not the kind of person anyone could ever like." And she wouldn't talk to me if I walked into a room where she was. She would turn her back. And I never knew. I'd say, "Mother, what am I doing wrong?" And the response was always, "Well, if you don't know, I can't tell you." It was pretty horrible. It was very horrible. And so it took a long, long, long time before I could feel that I was worth anything or that anyone could possibly love me. And I have learned, first of all, through my own children who love me dearly, that people can love me. And I'm very grateful for that. I think some of the woundedness is still there and probably won't go away until after I'm in heaven.
Yeah. Well, I think once we are scarred, you know, scars fade, but they don't disappear.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I am so grateful for the many ways that you have been an instrument of healing for so many people. And I think that with your story, nobody has an excuse. You know what I mean? If you can be someone who can radiate love and healing with that background of coldness and rejection, then I think that there is hope for any and all of us to bring that to other people. So thank you.
So.
Yes.
But
yes,
remember, I have seen Jesus 4 times. So that first one, when he was pouring love, there's no way of thinking that wasn't real. Because it was so real. So I was very blessed by being given those gifts. Yeah, and sharing, and we are blessed that you have shared them so well. So, well, thank you so much for talking to me today. And I'm Maria Thompson Corley,
Thank you for listening to Finding Beauty.